What about tariffs? What are your thoughts on that? I feel like people have
We're going to go through this whole conversation saying tariffs are not real. Trump won't do tariffs. He only uses those to negotiate with people. And then these guys aren't going to bring up how tariffs actually did happen in the United States, and they already harmed U.S. workers, and the federal government had to bail those people out. I think soybean farmers are the biggest example of people that were hurt by tariffs. But did he answer anything at all? He just completely sidestepped their pushback? Nope, he didn't answer a single thing. Did he say something? What would hurt if, or what's a regulation that helps? He didn't answer a single thing. He just said, well, let's get rid of all of them and see.
a very poor understanding of tariffs.
They really do. We played a lot of videos of people being very confused about tariffs on my show lately.
The thing that confuses me so much.
Yes.
What does that mean? We've played a lot of videos about people being confused about tariffs. What do you, oh boy. Oh no.
So of course they're going to come down. Of course, this is just negotiating.
The incoming Commerce Secretary is Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick was the former, I think he is he still the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald? He is still the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald, if you don't know his story, they were the company that had a couple of top floors at the World Trade Center during 9/11, and I think he lost over 2,000 employees. I mean, it's just absolutely insane what happened to that organization. In any event, he is
That was like everybody that died on 9/11 was one of his employees, or I'm sure those two statements aren't connected, but it was very strange to say those like back to back.
the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald, if you don't know his story, they were the company that had a couple of the top floors at the World Trade Center during 9/11, and I think he lost over 2,000 employees. I mean, it's just absolutely insane what happened to that organization. In any event, he is the incoming Commerce Secretary, and here he talks about Trump's policy on tariffs as a negotiation tactic. There's a lot of controversy around whether tariffs work. You know, if you tell China we're going to put a tax on all the incoming things, is the price of goods going to go up? We'll be able to make up for it on the American side. This is an interesting debate to have. And here's Lutnick on tariffs and the policy.
And of course, it's a bargaining chip. We can't sell a Ford or GM in Europe. You go to Europe, you can't sell a Ford or GM. Why? There's 100% tariffs. How about in Japan?
I hear this talking point so much, and now I feel like I should research it because conservatives have like 3 slogans that they use for everything. Is this true? Do I need to go research this? Because I hear this talking point brought up all the time that there's 100% tariffs on all these vehicles. Like, is this actually true, or is this just like a total? Does Europe have 100% tariffs on U.S. vehicles? Oh, Fords are reasonably common in Europe. Oh yeah, I remember I lost that time guesser thing because I saw a Ford and I was like, oh wait, we don't sell Fords in Europe, right? And I think it was Portugal, wasn't it? Europe got the RS before us. I think that's because they made it there, right?
100% tariffs. So do you think if we said, we're going to tariff you the way you tariff us, do you think they're going to allow Mercedes and all these Japanese companies and Porsches and BMWs to all of a sudden have 100% tariffs in America? Of course not. They're going to come and negotiate, and their tariffs are going to come down. And finally, Ford and General Motors are going to be able to sell in these places.
How's that sound?
Of course.
Why didn't Trump do that in the 4 years when he was president? Why didn't he do that when he was president then? Why didn't that happen already? What's going to change this time? And what's the excuse going to be when it doesn't happen?
Going to come down. Of course, this is just negotiating.
It absolutely makes sense. If you do it strategically, if it's across the board, it creates a real problem. And the question
is, it has to be across the board. That's how tariffs work. Otherwise, they don't work.
Whether you believe the president is going to do it strategically or across the board. He keeps saying it across the board.
Well, when you're running for office, you make broad statements so people understand you. Okay? Tariffs are an amazing tool by the president to use. They're an amazing tool, but he understands.
Oh, this is just a Trump dick stuff. Who is this guy? Does he solely survive on Trump loads? Like, is that all of his sustenance, or is it just like a percentage of his diet?
Don't tariff.
These are just he's just repeating the tariffs are an amazing thing.
Understand you. Okay? Tariffs are an amazing tool by the president to use. They're an amazing tool, but he understands don't tariff stuff we don't make, right? If we don't make it and you want to buy it, I don't want to put the price up there. It's pointless, but use tariffs to build in America. If we want to make it in America, tariff it, or if we're competing with a tariff it. But you got to remember, we need to protect the American worker. Finally, someone's going to protect the American worker, and Donald Trump is here to protect the American worker.
But not the American consumer? Like,
guys, isn't it just so damn refreshing? We are going to have competent people in government. Like the way that Lutnick just laid that out, it's very simple to understand. If basically...
Oh, that guy's going to be our next commerce secretary based. Okay, gotcha.
We try to sell a car in China. China has 100% tariff. So no American cars will be sold in China. It just economically doesn't make sense. In Japan, no, it doesn't economically make sense because they're going to put such a tariff on it that no one's going to buy an American car, and then they can keep all of their industry within their own country. The idea is, we're going to tell you, hey, we're going to put a tariff when you try to bring things into our country too, and then there will be a negotiating process. And then it just won't be that American jobs and companies and workers get screwed. Right now, it's a one-way screwing. We'll have a double screwing, and that's better for everybody because when people are being screwed equally, people are also winning equally.
Okay.
It's like, okay, I studied economics in college, but at the same time, now people have very convincing arguments on both sides of the aisle. People on the left say that people on the right don't understand tariffs, and people on the right say that the people on the left don't understand tariffs. What's your understanding of tariffs? And then I'll ask you to steelman that argument.
Sure. So,
the steelman argument. Oh boy.
my version, I'll tell you why I agree with Trump's proposition for tariffs first, because that's what sort of brought this back, right? I mean, basically what's happening right now is that other countries are putting huge tariffs on our products. So we can't, as I played a video on my show, Mr. Wonderful, what's his name from Shark Tank? Kevin O'Leary, he's great. He was basically explaining that, we can't sell an American car in Japan because they put 100% tariff on it. So no idiot in Japan is going to be like, man, I really want that GM so bad. I have to have that Escalade that I'm going to pay for it, right? And we don't do the reverse on their stuff here. So Trump is in effect using the threat of tariffs to get some sort of tariff parity. And then the hope would be that we would have enough competition in America to deal with that. And hopefully we would, I mean, from my perspective, I would then want people to be buying more American, but I don't want it to be exorbitant to import cars or anything else.
You have to push this. It will be more expensive. Definitionally so. You should always make them own that point. Admit that the average U.S. car, our cars are really expensive right now, right? I've heard that. I haven't been in the car market in a long time. But aren't cars really expensive? Aren't even used cars really expensive right now? Own that make them own that point. It will be more expensive to buy cars in America. That will just be true. If tariffs happen against any market, that product will be more expensive in America. If it's not, the tariff's not doing its job. That's definitionally what tariffs are supposed to do, is raise the cost of a particular thing.
Because we should be able to buy whatever we want to buy. But I'm basically with Trump on this, that we have to at least threaten a little bit. It's sort of like Trump with NATO the first time around. His whole thing, everyone was like, he's trying to destroy NATO. And Trump was like, well, I'm not trying to destroy NATO, but why is it that we foot the bill on NATO and nobody else does, And then what did Trump get out of it? Well, suddenly a whole bunch of other countries started paying into NATO as well. So I think that it needs to be a little bit more of an even game. That would be my basic version of it.
Like they should ask, what does it mean when a country pays into NATO? What does that mean? Like a NATO bank account?
Trump with NATO the first time around. His whole thing, everyone was like, he's trying to destroy NATO. And Trump was like, well, I'm not trying to destroy NATO.
Japan, everyone's saying Japan has 0% tariffs on American cars. Okay.
But why is it that we foot the bill on NATO and nobody else does, And then what did Trump get out of it? Well, suddenly a whole bunch of other countries started paying into NATO as well. So I think that it needs to be a little bit more of an even game. That would be my basic version of it.
It makes sense if we were to try to get the other countries to stop levying tariffs on the United States. Then I feel like that would help out a ton. But in terms of just...
But are they tariffing the United States? Like, shouldn't we start there? Shouldn't that be like our first step for investigation? It's like, well, hold on. Do they tariff us? Maybe we should start there, no? Instead of just like taking that for granted.
Like increasing tariffs from other countries trying to sell in America.
I think his argument is, if we say to Japan, if there's 100% tariff, that's what Mr. Wonderful said, Kevin O'Leary. If there's 100% tariff on American cars going into Japan, then if we say, okay, there's 100% tariff on Japanese cars coming to America, then suddenly they'll be like, okay, well, actually, we're going to lower this. So I think he's using it as a point of leverage, right? I think what the other version
it's that easy. All you have to do is just say like, oh, hey, we're going to tariff. They're like, oh, okay, let's just make all these things cheaper. It's that easy, guys.
It would be if we were trying to steelman the other version. It's something like, oh, okay, now Trump's going to do it, and they're going to do it, and we're going to get in this like escalating price war. But that's not really how competition works. The idea is, oh, if you guys are going to have this crazy tariff, we're just going to do the exact same thing. And then the car manufacturers of Japan might be like, boy, this isn't such a great idea because we can't sell in America anymore because it's too expensive to go there. So again, this is another one where I just think competition and why do we have such insane rules? You know what I mean? Like, can either one of you make the argument for that? Why do we allow this with China?
Is it even happening? Why don't we start there? Is it happening? What's our evidence that this is even happening?
China and Japan and plenty of other countries.
Why try to make the argument?
Well, I think...
No, see, like you're already buying into his premise. Like, what's the proof that this is even the case?
We need cheap labor. I mean, when it really comes down to it, right? So if we're importing a lot from China, it saves the average person here a significant amount of money.
Well, at least he's kind of bringing up the consumer side. All right.
They don't really see or notice the deficit in terms of national debt. It makes no difference for them. So if they're able to get an iPhone for $1,000 instead of $3,000, the average person says, I don't care.
Well, it goes to your...
So I think significant amount of money. They don't really see or notice the deficit in terms of national debt. It makes no difference for them.
So I think
if they're able
trade deficit has nothing to do with our debt or budget deficits. It's not. These two things are different things, but okay.
Get an iPhone for $1,000 instead of $3,000, the average person says, I don't care.
Well, it goes to your other point that it's hard to make people care about things properly, and they don't really think about where their iPhone is coming from, or the women that are literally using their fingers to put the chips in and all that stuff. But I would say basically, if you can create a situation, and I think it's fairly obvious Trump is going to do this, if you can create a situation where other countries feel that they can't just rip off America anymore, that ultimately they will lower tariffs too. Like, it's actually insane. We make some pretty good cars in America. We didn't, 50 years ago, but we do now, actually. It's like, why can't we sell them in Europe? It's because of the tariffs. So you threaten them, basically say, hey, we're going to do to you what you've been doing to us, and then they might just come around. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if he actually does it. And
go back 30 seconds.
Wait, the women that are literally using their fingers to, put the chips in and all that stuff. But I would say basically, if you think about where their iPhone is coming from, or the women that are literally using their fingers to, put the chips in and all that stuff. But I would say basically, if you can create a situation, and I think...
Does he think that iPhones are built with like low skill labor, random
It's fairly obvious Trump is going to do this. If you can create a situation where other countries feel that they can't just rip off America anymore, that ultimately they will lower tariffs too. Like, it's actually insane. We make some pretty good cars in America. We didn't, 50 years ago, but we do now, actually. It's like, why can't we sell them in Europe? It's because of the tariff. So you threaten them, basically say, hey, we're going to do to you what you've been doing to us. And then they might just come around. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if he actually does it and what comes to fruition.
I think it's a conversation worth having.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. I feel like that's kind of the theme of this entire presidency. It's like,
Do you think that tariffs are absolutely bad? I think that people on the right want tariffs and talk about tariffs for the wrong reasons, but I think there are valid reasons why we should have tariffs right now, e.g. to counter China's influence. Tariffs are just a thing. A thing is a thing. It's like, I don't know if I would ever say like an economic policy is good or bad. They just do certain things. Okay, that's all economic policies do. They do certain things. If you want to talk about what it does, then talk about what it does honestly. Don't lie about some things and then be truthful about other things. So if you want to say, for instance, that like, oh, well, we're going to tariff cars to make our own local manufacturing more competitive in the United States. I mean, that is what a tariff would do. Tariffing other countries would make our automobile manufacturing more competitive in U.S. markets. That's true because it would increase the cost of or it would increase the price to the consumer for other cars. But it's also going to raise the cost or the price to the American consumer. That's another thing that's going to happen, right? So you just be honest about that. You can't just lie and try to get all the positives from it and talk about none of the negatives. That's
it'll be interesting to see kind of how it all
We'll not see feedback. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, I'm mostly thinking like RFK even, like what'll even happen with that. I think it's all just like, it's going to be such a
the debate is at 8 tonight. I put it in the title. Sorry.
massive shift.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
Well, we're not used to doing amazing things in America, at least in, you guys are probably, how old are you guys?
34. 26.
26.
No, I'm sorry. It's at 6, not 8. My bad.
I'm 48, so you guys have a couple years on you. Like, we're just not used to doing amazing things anymore. America, we sent people to the moon. I mean,
We're not used to doing amazing things anymore. Remember what I said? We can't take credit for anything that America has done anymore. It's impossible. We don't get credit for anything. We don't get credit for any of the vaccines. We don't get credit for any of our like pharmaceutical or medical research. For the first time ever, there are actually like drugs that are showing promise for things like Alzheimer's disease. Like Elon Musk came here. Like he's talking about going to the moon. We have like SpaceX and Tesla. I would say that regardless of my hatred for Elon Musk, which is quite extensive at this point, like I think Tesla moved the electric automobile industry forward like at least a decade, right? Nobody was taking electric vehicles seriously until Tesla. Anybody that tells you differently is coping hard. Oh, what about the Prius or the Volt? Or like nobody gave a fuck about electric vehicles until Tesla, for real. These are American things. America ensures free trade throughout the entire world. We have the biggest, baddest military still. That's important. I mean, all of the biggest like tech companies and social media companies and are the like.
I'm 48, so you guys have a couple years on you. Like, we're just not used to doing amazing things anymore. America, we sent people to the moon. I mean, we were in a space race.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Have a couple years on you, at least in, you guys are probably, how old are you guys?
34.
26. So I'm 48, so you guys have.
I'm 48, therefore I remember the moon landing in 69. What is that? What?
A couple years on you. Like, we're just not used to doing amazing things anymore. America, we sent people to the moon. I mean, we were in a space race. Like, we used to do incredible things. Elon is actually doing incredible things, but as a nation, we haven't been doing incredible things anymore. We've done a lot of unimpressive things, I would say. And if you look at a lot of our architecture and our infrastructure, and we've stopped dreaming in a lot of ways. So it seems
infrastructure. Isn't that government spending? What are you talking about? Are these the things that we need more of?
to me that Trump now represents a restoration of the American dream. That it's like, we're going to get government off your back. We're going to look in and be like, well, what did happen during COVID? And why did we inject all these kids with this stuff? And why did we force doctors out of work if they didn't want to be injected with it? And why did we think we could lock people in their home? And how did these agencies get so powerful? And why did nobody get fired? Like, we're actually going to look under the hood, to use a reference I used before with Twitter. We're going to look under the hood and be like, wow, we have been wasting insane amount of money. We have been doing these crazy military adventures overseas without really understanding why or explaining it to the American people. And I think all of that, I think when people see a little bit more of how screwy things were, and then they start realizing, boy, it didn't have to be this way, I think it will get more people more and more involved. I also think they're going to decentralize a bit of the DC power and move some of the agencies out. And I think when you do that, it's like, why is the Department of Agriculture in DC? I don't know, maybe it should be in Iowa. Like, once you actually do that.
Does Iowa have more agricultural output than California? Or do you just really hate California? Agriculture sectors, or agricultural output by state, USA, absolute value? What? Oh, Iowa's number 2 at least. I guess Iowa and Nebraska are close, but Texas and California are close. 30 billion. What the fuck grows in Texas? I thought Texas was a boring ass desert. What are they making down there? Agricultural products, Texas. Oh, does agriculture also just by default include animal agriculture? Vegetables, citrus, corn, wheat, peanuts, pecans, sorghum, mohair. These are not real things. Is the world's 5th most important cereal crop. What? Mohair is a soft, lustrous, and durable fabric or yarn made from the hair of the Angora goat. I don't believe this. This is not real.
Then the power center will be less powerful, and you will be giving back more power to the people.
Destiny, what the fuck do you think is going to happen if we get rid of the Department of Education or Energy? The U.S. is going to collapse. Do you know how long we went in this country without those departments? Do you even know why they're set up? What? You know, we also went like a long time in history without like soap or clean water. What do you mean? We live in a different world today than what the world was 150 years ago. What kind of a question is that? Or statement is that?
People. Like, once you actually do that, then the power center will be less powerful, and you will be giving back more power to the people.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.